evolutionary relationships within one species, where everyone's hybridized, it becomes a kind of a terrible hairball. And especially with cannabis, imagine if you have a parent on one side of the genetic space and another parent on the other side, and you cross them, they're going to make a bunch of siblings that aren't the same but kind of spread out in between them. And then if you do that a lot, over and over and over, you get the actual population structure of cannabis. So this is close to 1,000 different cannabis varieties from all over the world. We collected them over 2 years.
Don't see any.
We've been collecting them from every single state in the United States, from Africa, India, Thailand, Afghanistan, Europe. We have hemp samples from the Vavilov Institute, though they're not on here yet. We have hundreds of land races. Most of these that we have on this beta version are the polyhybrid samples from United States dispensaries.
Oh my God.
Every dot is separated in space by its genetic distance. If you have one mutation that separates you from another strain, you're this far away, and if you have 2, you're this far away, and 3, you're this far away. And then the lines are inferences that we can draw based on how much shared chunks of genotype you have. We can infer first-degree relationships, which are either siblings or parent-child relationships. As we get tighter with this, we should be able to put arrows on them that go from the parents to the children. Right now, all we can tell is if you're a first-degree relationship. So the whole thing is a map of the cannabis population, and it's the true structure. I mean, this is the genetic sequence, and everything is laid out according to the genetic sequence. And obviously, it's ugly, right? I mean, what we think of as a strain, when we buy a strain from Holland, is actually just this spread of genotypes, and that spread creates all this noise across the middle. What was actually most striking to us is how much structure there still is. So this big cluster here, this is the OG Kush cluster. It is so tangled, but if you pull back and you look at the whole population and you turn it, you see this nice, pretty clear cluster where the OGs hang together. We're gonna try to start doing strain certification for people, and once we do that, if you submit a strain, you'll be able to log in, and your strain will light up. You'll be able to see how it's related to other strains. You'll be able to see how far it is from other things. This cluster over here, is that the purple cluster?
Yeah.
So one thing that's surprising, right, is you know how the different purple varieties have been crossed into lots of stuff. You see that purple hue in lots of different strains, but this purple cluster still forms this really nice genetic cluster. Can you zoom in on that a little bit? Here we come. Yes. No. We're still working. This isn't going to be public for a few months. This is our in-house beta version. We still have to figure out how to make it something that you just want to. I mean, it's actually face melting to just play with it. We play with it for hours. It's insane, but it's not really ready for public consumption. But so this whole cluster right now is the purples. All the purple Urkels, all the old purple Kushes, they're all still very closely related. And to us, that means that there's been a lot of back crossing. Because if you cross a purple with something on the other side of the space, you're gonna get something in the middle. But it seems like the purples have been repeatedly back crossed, and so they're clustering nicely. Let's see that AC/DC cluster. Is that it? That's not it. AC/DC. So one thing that we noticed when we sequenced the AC/DCs and the Cannatonics and the Charlotte's Webs is that they're all kind of the same. So Charlotte's Web, it's probably just Harlequin. It's probably just Cannatonic. I mean, more likely it's Harlequin, but they're all kind of the same. It's kind of a branding issue. So here, zoom in a little bit on that. They all cluster really nicely together. they're all, I mean, basically what you can see over and over is that people take cuts of things and they rename them. And so when you search for things like cookies or sour diesel, you get, actually in this case not sour diesel, but if you search for cookies, you get cookies all over the map, right? But then we have one nice tight cluster of cookies that we think is the real cookies. And you can start to figure out what's what based on the parentage. So for instance, it's like a crossword puzzle. So we have Blueberry from DJ Short, and that's not in very much doubt, unlike most things, because nobody complains about the fact that everybody agrees that DJ made Blueberry. And we have Super Silver Haze that we're pretty sure is the right one. So Blue Dream, everybody agrees. There's not many things that everybody agree on, but everybody agrees that Blue Dream is Super Silver Haze crossed with Blueberry. And then there's Blue Dreams everywhere. But the Blue Dream that shows the parentage being Super Silver Haze and Blueberry, that's the right Blue Dream. And then you can kind of work your way back, and if they're Blue Dream crosses, you tie them to that one. So we have to figure out all this naming stuff because it's just been a mess. People just name their stuff whatever is selling, and so all of that is reflected on here right now. Is that the Blue Dream? I'll see this, the screen's a little low res to see all the details. So when you click on one node here, it shoots out lines to show you what it's related to. And if this is ugly, it's partly because we haven't made it as beautiful as we can make it, but it's also really just because it's ugly. The cannabis population is an ugly clusterfuck now. And if you have a clone-only line, we can take that, we can tell you definitely it's genetically identical. But if you have some seed line that's not stabilized, and you give us one of those seeds, it's gonna be just lost in there in the noise. Maybe we'll be able to tell you who the parents are, but the idea that we have of a strain, there's no strain. There are clone-only lines. I heard about an inbred line once. I had never seen one really. Rob made one. I never saw one come from a company. But I know a guy who got a true breeding line from some company once. You've probably all heard of some guy who got one once, but. So it's just a mess. If you turn on all the names, it's like, psh. But that's the true structure of the population. And once we get it dialed in and we get the names cleaned up, and you bring a strain to us, we'll be able to sequence it and tell you this is what you really have. And you'll be able to take that information and look at the parents, see who you're related to, and use that to help your breeding, to push you forward. And ultimately, this will help us to make more crazy new plants. But what we hope is that it doesn't just make more mess. What we hope is that people start carving out space and making really unique things, making stuff over here where there is nothing, you know? Breeding new plants that are amazing and unique and coherent, that really put all the traits together that people want. We want to go back to land races and see what they're like, but we also want to go forward and make brand new stuff. And now that we have this map, I think it'll help us to do it.
This is literally like the coolest thing ever to me. We've been waiting to see this data for really 2 years, or as Mowgli would say it, 2 months.
40 years.
This data has been 2 months away for the last 2 years. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, that's incredible. I've never
We went way over today.
Yeah!
If you have questions, Dr. Holmes, Robert Clark will both be here. Dennis Todd is still here. A big thank you so much to all of you for coming out, sharing all your wonderful information with us. This was a really, really cool science pub. I'm just glowing over this. It's not just the pregnancy, it's how cool the information is.
No, you're glowing. You're glowing.